Hi, my name is Jonah. I'm going to show you my first aid pack. What I decided to carry it in was my backpack. I had an old one that I got a couple years ago. I go hiking quite a bit around the res, and I also fish a lot, so fly fish a lot. So this is probably like the best type of thing I could carry around. It's not like luggage that I hold in my hand, but something I could just place in my bag. It'd be easiest for me to carry. Here's all of my items inside of the backpack. So now we'll get into the items and how I use them. So first we have Band-Aids. I have a variety of pack of 30 different Band-Aids. They're all different types and sizes, and they're also all waterproof. You could use those to on a small wound to keep it closed and to make sure that no debris or anything gets inside of it. Make sure that it's closed off to the air and whatnot. There's also these butterfly bandages that I would keep because some of the rocks along the reservoir and in the river are pretty sharp. They might cut you, and those butterfly bandages, you could put them on the area, close the skin up, that way it heals properly. Next up, we have adhesive tape. Right here. I would use this, one roll of it, I would use this to close off a bandage that I'm doing. Maybe let's say the Velcro on something is giving out, I could close it off with that. Also, if I need to apply more pressure to a wound to keep it from bleeding, you could apply pressure using that bandage. Next up, sterile gauze packs. I have this, there's 25 of them in here. The uses for that would be like if there's a cut on somebody, you could clean off the area using those, and they're sterile. And also if there's a very large wound, you could pack the area with those, the affected area, to make sure that they don't bleed out. Roller gauze. I have one here. I have another right here. So 2 packs of roller gauze. Use those if there's a cut after you clean them out with the gauze pack. You could wrap over it so it could coagulate and start healing. Also, let's say you needed to apply more pressure to an area, you could roll these tightly, unlike the Band-Aids and whatnot. Next, we have our ACE bandage right here. Use that if there's somebody who sprained an elbow or a knee and needs that pressure to stabilize it. You could use that if it's not a very serious injury that you need a splint. Also, it reduces the swelling in an area. It'll make it so somebody could walk. Next, I got my wipes. It's supposed to have 5. This pack has about 80, it says. You could use those to clean off a wound, make sure that it's sterile, make sure that it won't get infected. Also, you can wipe the blood away from an affected area, that way you can see what you're working on more clearly. Next up, have our instant ice pack. You could use that if there's swelling in an area that you need to go down. You could ice it with that, alleviate the pain. Also, if somebody is overheating, you could use that to help cool them off. Bandage scissors. Right here. You could use that, like if you don't want to use a whole roll of gauze, you could cut off a piece of gauze. Also, like let's say you had to make a tourniquet quickly or something like that, you could cut your own shirt or their shirt, or if they had an area that you needed to get to that was covered by, let's say, a long sleeve, you could snip the long sleeve off. Tweezers. For me, like fly fishing, you can get hooked pretty easily. You could pull that stuff out right away, especially because we don't use barbs on our hooks, and there's a lot of cactus at the res, areas like that, so if you fall into one, you could get them out in a sterile way without using your fingers. 4 Ziploc bags. I have all 4 right here. You can use those if it's a small wound. After you put the bandage on, you don't want it to get wet. If it's raining outside, you could cover it with that. You could put the adhesive tape down to kind of tie it down. Also, what you could do is if you mess up and you break a glove or something like that, you have those that you could put. It'll be a barrier for you. It's not as good as gloves, but desperate needs, you could have that. Next, we'll move on to the garbage bag. One right here. You can use it for a similar thing. Like, let's say somebody hurt a larger area like their leg. You needed to clean that area, put the bandage down, but you also need to keep it dry. That's large enough to cover up the entire thing. Also, let's say after you get done cleaning a wound or whatnot, you don't want to leave your trash out there. You have a trash bag right there. Next, we have our lighter. If it's cold, somebody's hypothermic, you can start a fire. On top of that, let's say you had to reuse your tweezers or something on another person, you can make those sterile by heating them up. So there's a lot of uses for that. Next, I have my safety pins, 3 of them in this bag. The use for safety pins would be like if the Velcro on the ace bandage went out, you could Velcro it together. If you had to attach 2 different pieces of cloth together to make a longer wrap, you could do that using those. If you had to make a sling, you could tie it on the back without making a knot on their neck. So those are used for those. Whistle right here. The whistle, number 1, you could alert people around you that, hey, somebody needs help. Get to me, make a loud noise, get help there. Also, if somebody is calling 911, let's say you're kind of in a remote area that's like off the beaten path a little bit, you use that, make a loud noise, they'll know where you're at, the EMTs. Next, we have gloves. I have a whole big pack of them. This is pretty self-explanatory. I mean, you keep your germs. That's one way you keep your germs off of the other person. Also, you keep the other person's germs off of you. And you're not touching any blood, so you can't get any diseases or anything like that. They're easy to take off. Hand sanitizer. Right here. Use that just before you touch anybody to make sure, like with the gloves, that you're not gonna get anybody sick. And also, like, gloves aren't foolproof, so that could, after you're done, you could wipe your hands clean. Make sure that you're being safe. Then I have a space blanket, an emergency blanket right here. These are, they keep the wind off you and they just keep your body heat in, they keep you warm. They're also very reflective, so like if you needed something to put out, let's say in front of a tree that you're next to flag somebody down, this reflective material will do a great job of that. Next up, we have our flashlight. It does work. If it's dark outside, you need to work on somebody, you gotta be able to see what you're doing, so you can use it like that. Also, if it's dark outside, somebody's looking for you, you wave that around, they could find you. Got my Sharpie here. If you put a tourniquet on somebody, you need to write down what time you put it on, so emergency responders could know exactly how to take care of this person, how long that's been on, what they should expect, like what type of damage should be there. Also, let's say you're kind of off the beaten path again, you could write something like up here, up there, like give clues to where you're at. Aspirin here. Those are just for pain relief and reduce a fever if somebody's sick, and they're safe, so no caffeine, no nothing like that. Next, we're gonna move on to my extra credit items. So like I said, I like to fly fish, so fly fish and hike. First thing that I bring right here is a CPR mask. There's a lot of older people who like to fly fish, and if you see somebody on the bank and you need to help them, but you want to be safe, you could use that. I have this kind of little makeshift tourniquet. This is like one of those bandages, the triangle bandages. Then I have my stick here. Obviously, if you get a real bad cut on the river, if you fall and you hit a piece of shale and you want to stop the bleeding, that's a good way to do that. Next, I get very bad headaches, migraines, so I always bring migraine pills. That's kind of my personal first aid sort of deal. Then I have a knife. I was thinking like the scissors, like if somebody broke their leg and you need to split it up, but you wanted to see it and clean it first. Scissors probably wouldn't get through a pair of jeans, but a knife would. So I think having a knife would be important. Next, we have paracord here, sort of just to tie off anything. If you need to extend anything, you could do that. There's a lot of uses for paracord. And that's it. Thank you very much.